K-Hubanian
So-
HOA. Just
Oh, okay.
so over the
Wow.
tracks, if you go over the tracks,
Yeah.
go through the
That's
railroad
awesome.
drive light, go to the next light and make a left.
That's a lot.
That's Digital
That's funny, when
Drive.
they came to our house the
Okay.
first time,
And then a couple of rights down, I'm
Caden,
back in that
like, he got,
townhome complex.
Derek
Okay.
put him down, and he ran right for a light socket. I was like, I've never seen a light socket in my life.
Okay, so at least you know what you're in for.
I guess we're okay. Good evening. I'd like to call this Wednesday, December 13th, 2023 meeting of the City of Manassas Park Planning Commission to order. The time is 7 p.m. My name is Lester Finkel. Sitting this evening are Kevin Petak, who is a new member. We'd like to welcome him to the Planning Commission. John Evans, Alana Mensing, and Michael Beckett's. Commissioner Mensing, will you lead us in the moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next item of business is the approval of the agenda. Any changes to the agenda this evening? Seeing none, would anyone care to make a motion to approve the agenda as is?
Moved.
Motion, second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I abstain.
Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention. Next agenda item is the adoption of minutes. We have the September 13th, 2023 meeting minutes. Any changes? I didn't see any myself. With that, would anyone care to make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes as is for September 13th, 2023 meeting?
Moved.
Motion, second.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? 1 abstention for this evening. This is where we'll have, since Commissioner Petak wasn't here, then that's where the abstention will be for
Oh, I
that.
have to abstain.
That's okay. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So for this one, it's 4 and 1 abstention for the adoption of the minutes. They're adopted. Any members of the public here to speak? Seeing none, we'll move along. First order of new business is election of officers for 2024. I'd like to open nominations for chairperson and vice chairperson. Commissioner Evans.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Finkel here for president.
Thank you. I accept the nomination, and I'd like to nominate Commissioner Evans for the vice chairperson. Any discussion? Okay, thank you. Very good. I'll close nominations. And all those in favor for myself being chairperson and Commissioner Evans being vice chairperson, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next agenda item is public hearing, zoning ordinance text amendment ZOTA, number 23-08, to commercial vehicles associated with a home occupation. And if the applicant, Commissioner Administrator Berry?
Right, this is just really a staff-initiated amendment. We have the applicant for the site plan. But
Fine.
let me get started with this relatively simple zoning ordinance text amendment. Just real.
And I'll just open I forgot to open public hearing. The time is 7:02.
Thank you. So our current zoning ordinance provisions for home occupations only allows 1 commercial vehicle. But was over a year ago, we actually amended our commercial vehicle regulations, ones that are for on-street and ones that are for on the property, which is part of the zoning ordinance, allowing 2 permitted vehicles to be parked in their driveway. So there was some inconsistency with having one as a home occupation but allowing two, especially for enforcement purposes. How would the code enforcement officers, they would have to go back to the office to figure out if the owners had a home occupation and which vehicle was what. So it just it's too complicated, and it's just easier to align it with what is already permitted under the commercial vehicle ordinance. So the proposed amendment is to change those two provisions that identify just one commercial vehicle and change that to two. And we are talking about what we're calling permitted vehicles. And just to be clear, we're only focusing on these commercial and other similar type vehicles with the limitations. We're not talking about regular passenger vehicles associated with a family. So that is still allowed. So you can have as many passenger cars as you want. We're just limiting the commercial vehicles up to two. Just real quickly, the governing body did increase the vehicle weight for a commercial vehicle. So I can see there's an error there. It should be, I changed the number but not the lettering there. It's 15,000 pounds. They just did that on December 5th. But everything that is permitted is 15,000 pounds. You can see it's watercraft and trailers along with some large non-commercial vehicles. And I know some have seen this presentation before, but I thought it would be very helpful for all the commissioners to kind of look at some of what vehicles that would be permitted and would not be permitted. Especially we're focusing in the driveway. And they do have to be parked on a paved surface. I just wanted to go through some of these quickly. This clearly is a commercial vehicle by definition because it has the writing and the advertising on there. This certainly would be permitted on the driveway. And here's another one. This is, of course, a truck and still a commercial vehicle, but would be allowed to be parked in the driveway. And just to remind everybody and our viewers is that we are prohibiting commercial vehicles to be parked on the street. They can only be parked between Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So there is reference to what can be parked in the driveway and not on the street. Here's just another vehicle that has a truck with a cab. That's still a commercial vehicle, but it fits within the parameters and would be permitted to park on the street. Or excuse me, park in the driveway, not on the street. And then here's a good example for a home-based business. Now, you can see that these two vehicles are related, and we would appear that this would be a home-based business. So these two vehicles, we are counting the trailer as one vehicle separately from the truck, even though they're connected. But those two vehicles would be, under this ordinance now, would be permitted to park in the driveway. Here's a commercial vehicle, clearly with all the ladders. This is permissible to park in the driveway, and if he did have a home occupation, he would be allowed another commercial vehicle. And just to highlight that we are prohibiting these type of limousines, and they're neither allowed on the street nor in the driveway. The food truck is not permitted in the driveway or on the street. It's too large, but you can see somebody is parking by their house. This would be a zoning violation due to its size. So I just wanted to kind of highlight some vehicles that are not permitted. Here's another with a truck with a long bed. This is too large for a permitted vehicle, so it's not allowed in the driveway or on the street. Here's a good example that this is a home occupation where the truck driver is parking this in their driveway. Unfortunately, it exceeds the permissible weight. So while it's parked appropriately, it is not permitted, and we will be enforcing these regulations starting early in 2024. So this would be a violation. And just lastly, a Construction equipment is also not permitted to be parked in the driveway or on the street. Now, if it's related to an active building permit, we would certainly allow that and make provisions for that. But we do have people who are equipment operators. We may see some type of vehicles like that. So just as information that this is not a permissible vehicle either on the street or driveway. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to the governing body approval of this zoning ordinance text amendment to allow two commercial vehicles associated with a home occupation. Happy to answer
Thank you.
any questions.
Questions from commissioners? Okay, good. Don't see any questions from commissioners, so thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I don't see any members of the public here to speak on behalf of this one, okay, or against. Very good. So at this time, I'll ask for a motion to close public hearing for zoning ordinance text amendment ZOTA number 23-08.
So moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. If there's no discussion, I can offer a motion that the Planning Commission recommend to the governing body approval of zoning ordinance text amendment ZOTA number 23-08. Is there a motion?
Moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Next item is a meeting, site plan SP number 23-06, Artina Park. And if the applicant is here, which the applicant is, would you care to make the presentation?
Be happy.
Thank you.
Should I go there or over there?
If you'd like, yes, please.
Oh, you do, okay. 'Cause I'm sure it's-
I won't touch this. I'm Carlos Montenegro. I represent Artena LLC, the owner and developer of Artena Park. And this is a site plan. Thank you. This is, I just go there. Okay. This is a site plan pursuant to the rezoning we just recently had approved. It's phase one. What we ended up doing is allocating 284 units to this first phase in a 10-story building that has 2 stories of structured parking under it. Let me see if I got, okay, good. I don't know what that hard line is, vertical line going through it. It's my engineer's fault. But as you can see, this design, this building design is very much concurrent with what we had shown on the GDP. The parking field to the northeast has underground stormwater management and will accommodate the next door property's 150 parking space requirement. We're going to put it in an easement. I won't bore you with that easement, but essentially the easement is to the city, and the city will then convey the easement to Hasta, the next door neighbors. This plan shows a widening of Manassas Drive with the parking allocated, and the landscaping plan. Let me get to the landscaping plan, if I may. If I can figure out how to do this. My apologies for the delay here. The landscaping plan pursuant to staff recommendation has been enhanced, contrary to my opinion, but, as Mickey knows. But the property, if I may point here, the property next to us here is industrial, very industrial. And so staff felt that we should put some kind of a boundary buffer along there. So that's what we enhanced it to do. It's chain link fence, slats, and trees and shrubs at a low grade. So people in the parking lot won't be able to see over that. We don't expect. It does not help buffer our apartment building from that industrial stuff, but it's probably going to be interesting for our tenants anyway. We have a whole mix of unit types. I know it was recommended that we have 3-bedroom, so we've incorporated a substantial number of 3-bedroom in this. We have bicycle parking in the garage, 74 spaces versus 71, which is the ordinance requirement. We also exceed the parking requirement by about 40 over what the minimums are. And this is all in our first phase. After this, we will pursue the second phase. This building will have recreational facilities on the parking slabs, a swimming pool, and outdoor areas. The site plan also includes an accommodation of street widenings along Connor Drive. So the last comment is, we have reconfigured easements and rights-of-way to match this from what the original title looks like, which had all kinds of hodgepodge. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions from commissioners for the applicant?
Looks good. I appreciate the bicycle parking.
Yeah. So do I, half the time.
Commissioner
I have a
Putak?
couple questions,
Sure.
yeah. With the parking in the garage, will there be EV charging stations at all?
Yeah, we plan on it. I mean, this is going to be a very high-end building with a lot of services, and we will have EV indoors. I can't tell you what the number is. The architecture is being finished in there, but yeah, 15, 20 spaces.
And second question is, you mentioned the street widening of Connor, Manassas Drive. Liberty, what's going to be called Liberty, that's being widened as well, correct?
We are taking the existing street there and more than doubling it in terms of width,
Right.
all on our side of the property line. So we didn't want to have to get easements from the adjacent owner. We're fully accommodating everything that is now northbound, including a right turn lane on our property. So it's now going to be 2 travel lanes wide for most of it, and at the intersection with Manassas Drive, it's going to be 3.
Okay, good. Then, one last question for me. I noticed whenever I drove through there the other day, it's Park 170 that this is up against. On Liberty, what's going to be called Liberty, there's like a barrier or wall there right now. Is that wall going to be taken out, or is that still going to be there?
Where's the wall?
It's right along Broad Street.
Is it on Broad?
It's
The outdoor parking area?
yeah, well, that car, can't think, Kevin, is this O'Grinch?
Oh,
I can't think of it.
O'Grinch is gone.
Yeah, but I think that wall, it looks like a wall. Yeah, that's.
It's all gone.
Yeah.
We're flattening the site.
Okay.
Everything from the ground up is going to be new.
And I did have one other question, sorry. The parking, I assume the 150 spaces for city use is in the front of the parking lot fronting to Manassas Drive, correct?
Yes, it's at the very corner. The concept here, Mr. Petak, is that through the phases, that particular area may vary, And ultimately, when we go into phase 3, we may put a parking structure in the very corner to accommodate the 150 or more spaces that we may want to put in there.
Good, that'd be great.
Okay, so, it's all designed to flow and be available to the corner properties.
And will there be clear signage and demarcation on, so that we know that city parking area?
Yeah, we're gonna grant the easement to the city and they're gonna convey it to Hesta. And so the answer is, we're gonna have pavement markings. It's intended to be exclusive to the Hesta properties. That's the original intent, that was the contract deal. We have more than 150. We have like 270 here. So the rest of the balance are our parking spaces for our tenants.
Great, thank you.
My pleasure.
Commissioner Mensing?
You said you were gonna flatten it, but you are still keeping the Connor house?
Keeping the condo.
The Connor house?
Oh, well, this does not include the condos.
Right.
Yeah.
It does in a couple, in our packet, like a few slides, but I just wanted to clear, you're not intending on flattening that
No.
yet? Okay.
This is, we actually don't yet own. This approval
Okay,
will make it so we can finish the transaction
Right.
on that phase. It
Okay.
includes the Connor house.
okay,
And Mr. Oxoyu intends to preserve it.
right,
We've got several architectural designs that go around it,
perfect,
and hopefully renovate it to some extent.
great,
So you can use it or visit it.
great,
That's the idea.
thank you.
I believe that was part of phase 2, right?
2 or 3,
Second phase.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, sir. It's, yeah, please do. This is our engineer, Jeremy Carls with RDA.
Thank you, Carlos. I just wanted to point out the current existing parking lot, we're not touching at all. So that entire, from that driveway up to the left, that is remaining with this space. So we're simply just disturbing everything to the right.
But in phase 2,
Yes.
that is, yes, that's
That-
where,
Then we would work.
It's
in
all
that direction,
addressed,
yes.
right.
okay.
And one of the reasons that we have 284 units in this phase, because we got approved for 400, okay, is that the sensitivity to the Connor House retention impedes us from being able to go, much taller and put 280 or whatever on that side, okay? So it's gonna be a smaller second phase from that standpoint, because of that.
Other questions from commissioners? Thank you very much for the presentation.
My pleasure, thank you.
Administrator Barry?
Nikki, can you check that for me?
I'll do that later. I think some of the questions that we have, I can show in the presentation that I prepared. And I'll just go over this quickly because Carlos did most of it. Oh, I have to go through this, sorry. Okay, so this kind of gives you a visual of the entire site and where phase 1 is going. The blue area is where, so you can see by the questions, and the Connor house is right here, so at least in this phase, none of that's being disturbed. And then you do see the 2 industrial properties down here along Connor Drive. Just real quickly, this is phase 1, 2, and 3 of the generalized development plan. That was approved with the rezoning. Well, I guess it was in July, right? Yeah. Time flies. So this, but it is in phases, but just to give everybody a broad overview of what the intended development is to look like with all 3 phases. So this is what's showing, this was the phase 1 of the generalized development plan, and now it has gone into site plan, which I will show in a minute. But here are some of the zoning requirements. As you can see, that's also provided in the staff report. They are meeting all the minimum requirements and the associated waivers that were approved as part of the application. So there were 2 waivers that were subject to review by me, the zoning administrator, and that was an open space and recreation plan as well as a landscape and screening plan. Here's a more colored illustration of what Carlos presented. So you can see, I'm just gonna bring this over here. The landscape and the fence with the slats down here. And I just wanted to highlight that they are closing the median here into, unfortunately, this is an old photo, but that is the entryway into the rear of City Hall. But they will be closing off that median break, so there's no southbound entry onto what we're calling Naylor Drive now. There is open space a little bit. They did get a waiver for 90% coverage. So what you do see in green is what's going to be the open space and recreational areas. They are providing dog stations and some benches around there. They are providing streetscape along Manassas Drive. I still would like to see a little more landscaping enhanced, especially here. I am very concerned about the visual as you go down Manassas Drive. So I do encourage the applicant to at least provide some shrubs that are evergreen, so it does provide a buffer, and maybe even bring the fence around just so you have that visual buffer along Manassas Drive, which is our main street in the city. And you can see that there, what we're going to call Liberty Street does have a left and right turn lane, and then, although not shown, you can turn left into that. Now, Broad Street, future Liberty Drive, so there will be access from Manassas and from Connor Drive. And Carlos did mention the easement, the parking easement. So this is essentially the property for phase 1. And this is highlighted the parking easement area. It's shown on the plat, so it's going to be recorded as part of the deed. So that's the area that will be where the 150 spaces are, which when you superimpose the plan, that's certainly a big majority of the parking lot. And I just brought up the site plan in case there were any further questions, but we are recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to the zoning administrator approval of the site plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from commissioners? No questions there. Thank you. Any? Please.
We'll make sure, can you hear me? We'll make sure that that corner is properly treated. It happens to have an elevation change.
Okay.
So we'll get into grading that corner and seeing how we can deal with it.
Okay.
It might not hurt to put like a noise buffer there.
Okay. Fine. Thank you. Very good. If no other questions, then and no discussion, I will go ahead and offer a motion to recommend to the zoning administrator approval of site plan number SP 23-06, Artina Park. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you for being here.
Did I get my pen? Did you?
Please take your time.
Oh, okay, I just need to get my, retrieve it or somebody will get mad at
You didn't bring it back?
Yeah, look. They'll give you the.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you. And the next agenda item is the status of comprehensive plan updates. Administrator Barry?
Thank you, Chairman Finkel. So we are looking into updating our comprehensive plan. As you remember, we did do our 5-year review, and of course, the plan does need updating. The two chapters that we would really like to focus on is the transportation chapter and the housing chapter. We do believe that we're going to do the update to the transportation in-house with our assistant planner, Diane, who will assist us in that. We do have several projects that our transportation program manager is working on that are not in the current transportation plan and chapter, as well as the active transportation plan that you had reviewed a few months ago. We would like to add that as an appendix to our comp plan. Now, per state code, we do have to submit this transportation plan to VDOT for review and critique and give us comments back. So I do not anticipate moving forward or bringing it to public hearing until probably the summer. But we will be working on that and preparing that so we can at least get one chapter updated that is needed. Secondly, we were holding off on the housing chapter because of the housing needs assessment. We are starting our kickoff meeting for that assessment in early January. So we're going to be actively participating in that study. And so it probably will not be completed until May. So again, we are going to wait for that information to feed it into our housing chapter. And we look forward to all the information that assessment will provide us. And then lastly, we have thought about putting in next year's budget some funds for consultant fee to actually update the entire plan. I'm not sure how well that will survive with the budget numbers, but we are going to propose to do that so we can try to get it completed and updated as quickly as we can. Thank you.
Questions? So then the next update would be possibly June, or, because you're saying the housing would be May, the VDOT part would be July, so maybe June would be.
That is what I anticipate.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good. I appreciate, just from our
Did you
standpoint.
want to bring it first as a draft to you for review prior to advertising the public hearing?
Yes,
Because we can
please.
do it that way. Okay.
Yes, we would appreciate that.
Okay.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
It had been about a year since we had last heard, so
Right.
was curious just
No,
how things
absolutely.
were going. So thank you
Mhm.
for letting us know, and we'll look forward to the next interaction on that.
Great.
Cool, thank you. And then the informational update from community development staff.
So we just have two items. You will be receiving an invitation. We are having a ribbon cutting ceremony for our extension of Connor Drive. That will be happening January 3rd, which is a Wednesday at 11. We would love for the planning commissioners to participate in that. Again, that calendar invite to you will be going out tomorrow. It's at, I believe the location will be at Sandstone Way and Connor Drive, so closer to 28 down on that way. But we're really excited to have that connection in our city. That's been in our comprehensive plan for I would have to ask somebody how long, but it's finally coming to fruition, and people will be using it quite soon. So staff is very excited about that. We're hopeful that residents and visitors are going to enjoy that cut through, if you will, but an extra access onto 28.
Good.
And then Steve, as our transportation program manager, has been also working on streetscape and landscaping for the downtown. We did have a consultant do a study, and we anticipate bringing that to you in January for your review
Good.
and recommendations. And Calvin, do you have anything extra to add? I don't think so. But we're still moving forward on, the downtown plans, and just with phase 4, that's just another step in the right direction. So we're all very pleased to see the downtown continue to improve and build up and forward.
Questions? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And with that, no other discussion of any type, then I will call for a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion, second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. The time is 7:35.